So good afternoon. My name is Fernando Martino. I'm sincerely honored to be here. This is my third time in Morocco, but always just for 2 or 3 days. I've never been able to know really the country, but I'm delighted to be here. And a special thanks, of course, to Siam and Jorge for the opportunity to address this topic to you. This is the 8th stop trip I will take you through today. We will walk through different landscapes, and we will meet some good and bad characters on the way. And at the end of the trip, we will be revealed some interesting devices, hopefully, that will help us improve our decision-making capabilities. I have three personal objectives here with you people to make you aware that too often, as human beings, make very poor decisions with very serious consequences sometimes, and understand why we do so. The second objective is to review some real situations in our industry where these errors are exposed. And finally, to transfer you some insights and tools to improve the quality of your individual and group decisions as well. A disclaimer here, most of the content I'm going to show you today is the lifelong research by a bunch of statisticians and psychologists that have changed the way we analyze or what we know about how human beings take decisions as individuals and as groups. And 2 of them were awarded the Nobel Prize. Well, in those 25 years that I've been in the business, I witnessed, participated, I've been exposed, and felt the consequences of hundreds of decisions, if not thousands. And some of them with terrible consequences, and some other with very positive consequences. And within this continuum of decision that can be classified as strategic, tactical, and operational, in your farms, every day there are many people taking operational decisions on your behalf. You've empowered them to take the decision. And these operational decisions that are sometimes blind to us, its accumulative impact do have an enormous consequences for the good or for the bad. So if the impact of poor decisions is so significant, why aren't we better trained to make better decisions? I will fastly go through 3 cases. Let's go back in time to January 2020. Remember the pandemics? Possible to forget it. China, which was one of the by far the main destination for Chilean cherries, decided to go into a full lockdown in the middle of the Chilean exports of cherries and blueberries. So the maximization of net grower return to growers was more than ever in the hands of exporters. They have to take decisions, what to do with the fruit of such and such a grower. Here you can see the real distribution in the columns in blue of market distribution of an exporter that decided to share, according to market, these 700 tons of fruit from an anonymous grower. This is a real situation. Okay. And the information in the yellow columns is, with my experience as exporter and importer in Europe for 3 years, I would have decided to do. I know it was a terrible situation, very complicated, and a lot of uncertainty, but I'm sure the yellow redistribution could have been done. In brief, what you can see there is that for not doing the change, the commercial distribution, like specifically to reduce the volume sent to China, which was until 2 years ago the most profitable market for Chilean blueberries, cost the grower $200,000, more or less. Let's go back to a second example, second case. All of you have heard about El Niño, right? You felt it in Morocco, but it was mostly felt in Peru and also in Chile, and all around the world. When there were already strong evidence, and it was obvious that the weather was complicated in Peru, in July 2023, the Peruvian Blueberry Committee informed that they would ship 326 million kilograms. 1 month after that, they downgraded that projection to 273. 1 month after. Another month after that, in the peak of the Peruvian season, they were still thinking that they would send 260 million kilograms. The final real figure was 225 million kilograms. This is 30% down. For you to have an idea, this is the same quantity that Chile exports throughout the year, and 1.6, 1.7, the volumes that Morocco is expected to export this coming season, roughly. Some consequences of this misestimation. You can imagine the ripple effect of this. Vessel bookings, I was calculating that there were 6,000 containers bookings canceled. Prices, you know, more than double at that time. Endless orders unfulfilled. I've met some importers, European importers here, who felt this, definitely. Processing capacity and materials on destination waiting for the fruit to come that never came. Processing capacity and materials. Promotions in retail stores canceled. Shelves emptied. Customers annoyed with exporters because they didn't get the fruit, or they were given wrong information. And consumers at the end annoyed because of the drastic price increase on the shelves, etc., etc., etc. So my question would be, why the Peruvian industry was unable or unwilling to release this timely and accurate information? What could have this made differently? Let's move now to another case to make it even with Peru. Chileans are not much better. The Chilean Blueberry Committee forecasted that we would export by December 2023 76 million kilograms. But because of the Peruvian situation, there were sirens singing that prices were fantastic everywhere. So there were many exporters in Chile who went to the growers and said, you know what, I know you wanted to leave your fruit in Chile and sell it to the frozen industry, but you know, the prices will be good. So many growers were convinced, and growers decided that they would hand over this fruit to them. Importers as well, everywhere, mostly in the US, but also in Europe, decided that they would accept this, the leftovers of Chile. So, to make things worse, the Chilean Blueberry Committee has classified blueberries in 3 types. Type 3 are varieties that shouldn't be exported. It's a recommendation because in Chile, the Blueberry Committee recommends do not export type 3 varieties, okay? Because they have short transit times. Don't do that. But still, many exporters decided to export that fruit. So if you can see here, there were, in chronological stages, there were 3 chronological stages in terms of net grower return. The first one, the first blue line to the left, were very good net return growers, very good. In the middle, it was just good. But the last part of Chile, which is the southern part of Chile, most of that fruit was sold very poorly. And growers were really disappointed, importers as well. And a very nasty side effect of this decision is the quality image of Chilean blueberry. Was further questioned, since quality at arrival was mostly poor. And I don't say it myself. Kima, the quality control company, they have the figures, and they show it to us in Chile many months ago, that the quality of the last part of Chile was really poor. Well, what all these situations have in common, these 3 situations? One, and probably the most important one, is the huge amount of money involved in these decisions. I would say that hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Second, the uneven access to quality and timely information to take decisions. And finally, which is the main topic of this presentation, is the exposure to unconscious and conscious, sometimes biases, that led to well below optimal decisions. But good decisions are also made more difficult due to the environment in which our business operates, which is increasingly growing in complexity. We're going to briefly go through, we're going to have an inside-out analysis of the environment where the farm operates, okay? We're going to start from the farm system, which is the pillar of our industry. There wouldn't be export, there wouldn't be imports, and consumers wouldn't have access to good blueberries if there weren't farms, obviously. So the farm is the pillar of the industry. I would like to briefly conceptualize here that the farm system is a connection or interaction of three subsystems. One is the biophysical system, water, soil, and weather. And in the case of exporters, the biophysical system has to be changed by the logistics system. There is an operating system, basically, which is the configuration and management of people, pesticides, inputs, machinery, infrastructure. And finally, a decision system. Usually the owner, who is the owner of the farm, or the owner who has empowered a farm manager or a general manager to take the decisions on his behalf. So even though only the operating and the decisional system are under our control, the optimal management of these interactions between these three subsystems and the ability to read what is going on in the environment is what really makes the difference between profitable farms and non-profitable farms. And this is widely studied. I will show you at the end of the presentation the references so you can go to the bibliography and read it yourself. So what happens? Most of the time, the focus is on improving the efficiency and the effectiveness of the operational system. But nobody cares about the decisions. If there is some big mistake, the person is warned or just fired. But nobody thinks, what's the quality of the decisions being taken in the company? Nobody cares about that. Well, since I only have 20 minutes, I will not go into the complexities of the environment. I would recommend that you go to the IBO, the International Blueberry Organization Global Report. It's for free in their website. You put your email and you can have access to it. You cannot download it, but you can read it through. And there's a very good analysis of what's going on, at least in the last years, in the industry. So I would invite you to make an analogy here. Let's imagine that your farm is a well-built vessel, a ship, very intelligently designed to navigate both rough and calm waters, under the command of a captain and a very good crew. So an optimal management of the operational system keeps your vessel afloat and in good condition and ready to navigate. But it's the decision-making skills that can strongly help to have a much better navigation of that very nice vessel. So in the next slides, we're going to know or to get to know a basic language of 5 concepts. One is system 1, system 2, what we're going to see what noise means, what bias means, and heuristics. Those 5 words, I would like to keep it for yourself, and you can review it later on at home or at the farm, because that's a basic language on the way to improve our decision-making skills. So, please raise your hands, those that think that these 2 tables have the same surface and same shape. Nobody? All of you think that these have different shape and surface? right? Okay. How about the longest line on the right? Do you see the same length of the straight line in the middle of two arrows? Raise your hand those that think they have different lengths. Okay, good. Let's put it a bit more complicated now. You have 30 seconds to think about the answer. These are the conditions to do the analysis, the mathematical analysis. The shirt on the ball is 1,100, okay, dinar. The second condition to solve the problem is that the shirt costs 1,000 dinar more than the football. So how much is the football? Raise your hands, those that think that the football is 100 dinar and the shirt 1,000. Many of you? Wrong. And I will show you why. That's the right answer. Okay, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable because I made the mistake myself when I did it. But the underlying message of these two last slides is to ask ourselves the question, can we really trust some of our mental processes related to decision making? I want you to know two characters now, System 1 and System 2. You know these guys? I'm over 50, so this is the old Star Trek. But for sure, all of you know these characters. System 1 is the intuitive, the minimum effort character that decided on your behalf, which is very inside your mind, that the tables weren't of the same shape. And System 2 is the rational, hard work thinker inside ourselves that sometimes fail if we recall the mathematical problem of the shirt and the football. We're going to meet another character now called heuristics. This is a group of guys, a bunch of guys, that are sidekicks of System 1. They get very well with each other with System 1. These heuristics are well-intentioned, know-it-all characters who are not aware at all of their weaknesses. And now the definition of heuristics. All of us use heuristics all the time. We're mostly not aware that we use them. Because heuristics are those simplifying strategies or rules of thumb that we use when making decisions. Heuristics are, or they serve as mechanisms for coping with a complex environment surrounding our decisions. We take thousands of decisions every day and we cannot stop to think for too long to take some decisions. So we make it automatically. And that's when System 1 and heuristic is running. So what's the problem now? So far, so good. But the bad news is that the overexploitation of System 1, which we are not aware of, and heuristics can unleash Mr. Noise and Mrs. Bias, which are the symptoms of error. Well, you know, variability is everywhere. It's part of nature. But too much variability in our farms is a problem, a serious problem. I will define noise as a random dispersion of the precise result of whatever, like the projection of the production in a farm or the price projection of something. There is always a variation. We have to aim for the minimum variation in order to make things right. And bias is a systematic deviation, which is visually explained in the graph on the left. Okay? Both are the main components of error. And the dartboards in the middle, there are 4 possible combinations of noise and bias, and us as individuals and as group of individuals running a company should aim for the lowest possible bias and the lowest possible noise. So these graphs, 4 graphs, are just a hypothetical example of 4 farms that are or have the same production conditions. These are 4 different growers that have the same characteristics, same location, same soil, same weather, same varieties, same plant density. They are exposed to the same biophysical system and the same external environment. But only one of them has been very precise, in this case, of the harvest estimation throughout the 5 last seasons, from 2020-21 through 2024-25, which is the one they're running. But we are going to focus now in 2 farms. The one that has the highest bias and the highest noise, and the one which is very precise, the one on the right. So the farm on the left is always below projections. They always think optimistically. They always think they will harvest more fruit than they actually do. Oops, 20. Already. Okay. So we have to aim for the company in the right. So I will go immediately to the types of heuristics that are already well classified and well known. This is demonstrated. It's not a hypothetical situation. Some of the heuristics that are present in ourselves. Availability heuristics, we've got some examples there, representative heuristics, confirmation, and effect heuristics. All of us, with no exception, are exposed to this. And also, to make things worse, there is a combination of heuristics that make things more complicated. These are roughly some decisions, tactical and strategic, that farmer, growers, and exporters do in every cycle. And to finish, these are some tools and procedures that we can practice in order to improve our decision-making skills. I will send you through Siham and through Jorge a longer leaflet to explain all of this in more detail, because I'm already run out of time. But there are several. The good news is that you can practice yourself, and you can practice with your team in your company how to improve your decisional skills. And finally, what I want to leave with you as a takeaway is this. A lot of money is being wasted unconsciously for not taking, I wouldn't say the precise decision, because we're always prone to variability and error, but because we don't really aim to take the best decision, possible decision. There is an increasingly complex environment, our business environment, not to mention the weather. We've talked this morning a lot about the weather and this dynamic business environment. So good decision making is more necessary than ever. You can definitely improve these skills. That's a fact. And more profitable, more competitive, and better business partners are the ones, those companies that can improve and take good decisions for the reasons I already explained. So low noise and low bias companies are more profitable, more competitive, better business partners, and definitely noise and bias can and must be reduced. So thanks a lot. I ran out of time, but it happens to me quite often. So thanks a lot.